Oh, hey guys, how are we doing? So, we got a new video from Nux Taku featuring Swagkage. This is boss. As soon as I seen the thumbnail on Twitter, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see this. Dissecting every arc in Naruto. This is going to be boss. Nux, Naruto, Swagkage. And I found my Naruto fingerless gloves. How cool are they? I don't know why I'm wearing them. I just found them and thought, boom, I can't wait for this. This is going to be so good. And I think, just from going off the thumbnail, I didn't read the description, sorry. I think this is just first story before Shippudden, before the time skip thing, which I think's awesome because, in my opinion, best part of Naruto. Shippudden was okay, don't get me wrong, decent, but Naruto, manga chapters 1 to 28, my favourite thing. And this is just, let's just get straight into this. This is dissecting every arc in Naruto featuring Swagkage. Yo, there's gonna be buzz. I'm so excited.
Yo, what's happening, fanbase, and welcome back to another Naruto video. With me, I have the Naruto King, Swagkage. How's it going, friends?
Boss.
Swagkage here.
Boss.
Welcome to today's video. I would say, normally, today we're going to be talking about X, but I guess Nux should probably handle that since
You want to let him introduce it? Yeah.
Yeah, well,
cool.
We're going to be talking about basically every Naruto arc and dissecting, without any formality whatsoever, what we like and dislike about them. So, with that said, would you like to begin? Yeah, and now, every Naruto arc doesn't mean every arc in both parts of the series. It's going to be pre-time skip, part 1. So it's going to be Zabuza, Chunin, Search for Tsunade, and the Sasuke
retrieval arc.
And, you know, that's not a whole bunch to go over. I guess it may have been a... We're not going through every filler arc, too? That's my favorite part of the whole show. Oh, yeah, no, we gotta go through everything in the second half of Season 3 and all of Season 4, and then we gotta go over that one thing where they went to the, like, land of tea, or whatever, and there was the dude with the farting bugs, and... Yeah. No, my favorite... We had the most screen time in the whole show.
And what was it with Hinata? Was it naked in the water?
The entire Naruto anime is how they needlessly changed the reason Sasuke ends up in the hospital to him being injured by a guy with a lightning sword, even though he had just been admitted to the hospital for his injuries with Itachi. Then he gets out, and then he gets hospitalized by this filler arc guy, and it's just like, oh, well, Sasuke kind of fucking sucks, doesn't he? I mean, they could have just left it like it was in the manga.
Could have, yeah.
But anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent. I guess there's no better place to start than with the Zabuza arc, you know, Land of Waves, the beginning of the series, an arc that a lot of people are fond of, not many people throw a lot of criticism at it. And while I do have my own, I think that this is a fairly strong arc, and it's definitely a good introduction to the world. Absolutely. I like how it introduced Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi.
Made Kakashi OP.
Between their team, and kind of what we'll be seeing in the future. Like, that whole first arc, I understand it's basically a test for the whole show, but it's also kind of a microcosm as to how the story works. Naruto and Sasuke allegedly don't like each other. At the same time, they really do care about each other.
Best friends, though.
Kakashi's a total badass.
Yes, he is.
Zabuza beat him the first fight, which was stupid. Transformed Naruto into Shuriken, which no one ever transformed
that never happened
into
again.
An inanimate object again in the whole series.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, you're right. Well, in Boruto, Naruto transformed into a Rasen Shuriken, which is wild, but... You know,
wow.
Wait, is that really the manga or the anime? That's in the anime. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. But, I mean, it was clearly a callback to this. That sort of thing doesn't happen very often. I'm fairly certain that there are instances of people transforming into objects later on in the series, but I don't think there's as much focus placed on it as there was here, because this was supposed to be a super cool hype moment. But, I mean, just stuff like that is like, omnipresent throughout this arc. Like, there's just a bunch of stuff that gets you really hype, and I guess that's true of like everything else in the series. But you know, like when Naruto first starts using the Nine Tails chakra, when he beats Mizuki, when they outsmart Zabuza, when Kakashi first uses the Water Dragon Jutsu, like all that stuff is really cool. And I think that the arc is kind of misleading, which isn't its fault, it's the fault of the rest of the series. But you get this idea that they're going to be going on missions regularly, and that they're going to be traveling to all these different parts of the world, and then you find out that they're just, like, defending the Leaf Village for 90% of the show.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess they travel to other areas of the world in the Fourth War, but it's just to fight people that they've already fought before. Just like
or Madara,
really,
who could pretty much destroy the Akatsuki easily, no problem.
Yes.
That aside, I was also going to say the war also introduces some new characters, but none of them are as memorable as like Zabuza and Haku.
I mean, we don't need to make any more videos about that.
There was Ginkaku and Shminkaku in the war.
Yeah, you're right. Person who beat Tobirama #1 and person who beat Tobirama #2 did make their appearances in the war arc, but
and they almost beat Inoshika Cho too.
Well, yeah, but King Ku lost. But going back to the Zabuza arc. I think that this precedent it sets for exploration.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it did. I thought that was where it was going.
The introduction of all these.
Now we're gonna go to this place. Now we're gonna go to this place.
Characters is great. And I think it gives the show or the manga, depending on how you digested Naruto, it gives it a good foundation. And I mean, like the only problem is that the show doesn't really follow up on that. Like they don't go to any other places where there are just like regular village people and stuff like. I mean, some like actual problems like
the search for
that
Tsunade
don't have anything to do with anything outside this arc in particular are in the anime. The animation is kind of poop in some places just because the budget wasn't
it must have been. It's the first season, isn't it?
It was still kind of experimental. They weren't sure how successful it was going to be. There's also just some like weird stuff and like really cheesy moments and lines, but like for the most part, the arc's really good.
I mean, it's funny
good strong start
about how it sets a precedent for the series that it'll be about ninjas going on ninja missions, and that really doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But while I do agree with what you're saying, I kind of understand that as this is your normal cliche ninja life. It sets your mind as to what do these ninjas do? What are these ninjas' missions like? Well, that's covered in filler arcs. Every filler arc is one of these typical missions,
do, don't they? Yeah.
But they don't enhance the narrative per se. Whereas, the Chunin exams and the Tsunade arc and Sasuke retrieval, that's all fully narrative based.
Yeah. Well, see, this is also an example of a mission going wrong. This isn't necessarily.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it as well. It's like this was not meant to be S rank.
To be embarking on a mission where the person they're supposed to be protecting is being attacked by like Chunin and Jonin and like rogue ninja who have attempted to assassinate Kage before. Like this is definitely.
To be fair though, I don't think that we want to watch Naruto walking dogs for like 80 episodes.
Oh, of course not. But and we also don't want to watch them fighting like other genin because then Kakashi would just like slaughter them. So like I get it. And I think that the arc. It does a really good job taking into account the power of every member of the main cast and all of the antagonists.
Yeah.
It does a good job setting up what the world is like, the sort of stuff that you can expect from the world. And I just think that it would have been cool if we could have gotten more stuff like this from Naruto, but I get why it went in a different direction. Yeah, the filler all sucks, dude. I don't like any of it. I mean, there's
It's very throwaway.
Poorly written ninja mission.
There's some okay filler sometimes, but generally it's all really bad.
And then you have Ino dressing up as a princess.
Yeah, the best.
The try not to laugh challenge over a corpse.
Anyway, I think that's all I really have to say about the Zabuza. Oh, well, also, real quick, Zabuza and Haku are, I think they started the trend of every villain in the series being incredibly memorable.
Right.
Them in particular, everybody knows them.
Because of Talk No Jutsu.
I mean, Naruto's Talk No Jutsu with Zabuza was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was decent.
It pulls on your heartstrings.
Naruto's Talk No Jutsu in general was pretty cool.
Powerful.
Yeah, but I think
that it became a meme because it just happened so frequently. But
yeah, it
in
happened
general,
more than
I kind of did like it on the individual level.
There's some that really pissed me off, but this one I didn't
Except
have any problems
for Obito.
with. Yeah, Obito's was really stupid.
Yeah.
But Zabuza's Talk No Jutsu defeat was fine. Like he started
it was cool.
because he finally starts to understand Haku, and it's like, it's fine. It's a touching
understands that he actually
moment
cares
for him,
about him.
and then he just goes out like a goon. and takes out all of Gato's henchmen.
It was amazing.
But yeah, no, that is all I have to say.
Stabbed, got him on his back, and it's like, I don't care. I don't know.
And then we can move on to the Chunin exams.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I love how they developed the main cast and the villains, and went to show that even these villains, they kind of have their own lives as well.
Well, yeah, because it's
hitmen that live to kill.
Everyone's affected by the ninja way.
The world. That 20-episode stupid arc that doesn't really affect anything else, directly. Yeah. I do feel like it enhanced our perspective of the whole ninja world, and it was an amazing starting arc.
Well, just to add on to your last point, it was also responsible for a lot of character growth. There's a lot of character development in this arc, despite how short it is, and without it, I don't think that the characters would have gone in the same direction.
Interesting.
Maybe it would have been a bit similar, but it definitely wouldn't have been, exactly the same. But out of 10, I'd probably give this arc, a 7.5 or an 8. It's pretty solid. I really like it. I don't think it's the best in part 1 or the best in the series as a whole, but it's definitely really good and it's easy to watch.
Yeah, I was thinking 7.5 or 8 as well.
Boom, there you go.
Next arc! The Chunin exams.
The best one.
Do you want to break this up, or you want to...
This was good.
Kind of eat the whole thing in one shot?
No, come on, let's just let's dive right in. Let's crack everything open at once. The Chunin exams,
crack those eggs.
It's a massive arc where a whole bunch of shit happens. It is probably the most important arc in the series because so many characters get introduced.
Yep, they do.
So many crucial
show you
things
what they
happen.
can do.
If not for the Chunin exams, then Sasuke wouldn't have left the village in the first place.
No.
We wouldn't have met Orochimaru. We wouldn't have met the future Kazekage. We wouldn't have met any of these important Genin characters. We wouldn't have got introduced to the 8 gates. All this other crazy. It's all handled so well. I have a handful of problems with it. But for the most part, I think that it is just a spectacular arc. And, I'm not sure whether I think it's the best one. I really like it.
It's my favorite arc, hands down, in the entire series.
Damn.
I get
you
that.
see, Zabuza's mine.
I can totally
Zabuza is mine.
And it has what is, I think everybody can agree that they like Gaara versus Rock Lee.
Boss fight.
That was my favorite fight for sure. That's top 5 fights in all of anime.
Yeah, so I think
good.
That
creating the shield.
Is,
and he's like, oh my god, he's actually moving really fast.
Probably the best fight in the series, just because, especially when you're watching it for the first time, and you have no idea who Lee and Gaara really are.
No.
It's just so great, and it lets you know that you can get invested into the struggles of side characters as well, not just the.
Yeah, that was cool because it's not just focused on the main.
Gaara versus Lee isn't the only great fight either. You have Shikamaru versus Tamari. I
was about to say.
I think Sasuke versus. I think every time Sasuke is on screen in the exams, it gets really tense and interesting. Generally, anyway. That's not always the case, but he's typically used for really big, flashy moments.
He gets the mark.
His fight with Yoi, the guy who can absorb chakra, in the preliminaries, was pretty cool. Even though it was only a couple of attacks, and it was also set up.
You see his strength,
the
and you're questioning how he deals with it.
Sharingan in mind, and he just uses it anyway. So it's kind of dumb, but I think that's cool. Neji versus Hinata is great.
Yeah.
Even first revealing Kankuro's power when he fought, stretchy, roundy, bendy, wendy guy.
Back when Kankuro was cool, and back when Tamari was the coolest. Tamari's still cool in Shippuden, but in part 1, she's just...
Yeah, she was class.
She just, wipes the floor with 10-10, so... and then everything in the Forest of Death is great, and
Forest
this is
Death
all
class.
Not even mentioning the test at the beginning, which I think is brilliant.
That written exam is
they're all using the techniques to find out.
Everyone finding out a different way to cheat.
Brilliant.
Because it's going to show also
Gaara has
this will not all be big explosions. Whoever has the bigger explosion will not necessarily win. There's a lot of tactics involved. And granted, in the war arc, you kind of don't see that so much.
Yeah.
But it does exist in the ninja world.
Definitely.
I love the Chunin exams for every bit it had. I like how Orochimaru intervened into the Forest of Death, and I thought it's like a whole mini plot within the greater Chunin exams where that Naruto and Sasuke have to actually manage, to surpass somehow.
Yes.
Well, when Orochimaru is introduced,
and then
he's
the seal on
him, right? He can do all this crazy, weird shit that you wouldn't expect to be possible with chakra. He can change his appearance after stealing somebody's body. He can give people these marks of power up, and he can revive the dead, and he's He's like unstoppable.
It's like, whoa.
And you get this feeling that the entire series is going to be working towards surpassing him. And
then no.
You know, like he's probably. It's not, but he's one of the best antagonists.
He definitely sets up like
so
what's out there,
and like scary and like powerful, and you know, like every time, like he had so much presence in part 1.
Definitely,
everything was about
he was such a threat.
Orochimaru. Like it was every time you heard.
One of the things I. Yeah,
well, go ahead. Oh, well, I was just gonna say that every time you heard Orochimaru's name, like you knew that things were serious.
Yeah, it was
and,
like, whoa,
you associated
it's that
him
badass.
With, okay, well, something bad's about to happen. And, you know, not a whole lot of villains just, like, typically... I mean, like, there are plenty of villains in fiction that accomplish this, but Orochimaru is an example of them.
Especially because that whole attack on the leaf was all Orochimaru.
Yeah, it was,
The Sand Village was being manipulated by him. And
he, like, tricked them,
It was all this one guy that made this massive dent.
He did, because they thought that
it wasn't
Kage from the Sand Village was still there, but no, he killed him on the way and took his place, and it's just like, what?
His, like, really crazy
and then he summons the... and he fights the third.
And Orochimaru, like... I mean, not only did he just do it for shits and giggles, which is, like... You know, it's a pretty easy to digest motive, but he also, like, you're given a clear set of, like, you're given clear steps, or a clear explanation of the steps he took to make it all happen, and it's, like... You know, it's really easy to follow, and you get it, and you're just like, oh, okay, so this guy's smart, and he's also really
very
strong,
smart.
and he's also
powerful,
insane. So, you know, just
he is very messed up.
Great combo. So my, like, kind of as you were saying, I like how the Chunin exams, it gave you a fear for the world of Naruto.
Yes.
There's dangerous stuff out there.
I'll give you a stupid example. Lee was about to get killed by Gaara, and in an instant, Guy shows up there and
he's just like, no!
pushes away the sand.
He's like, no!
Like, Neji's fighting Hinata, and then in middle of the fight, Neji's about to, you know, do too much damage to Hinata, and 3 Jonin were on the scene immediately.
Boom!
You know, it gave you such an awe of like, oh wow, this is a high-level ninja.
It's like, there's some epic stuff going on.
This is what the outside world has to offer. We know nothing, and there's infinite shiz out there that we're going to learn about.
Yes.
And
exactly.
It's a ton of great side characters. I felt like Lee's story was fully fleshed out. I felt like his feud with Neji about natural talent versus hard work. I thought that was boss. Great theme.
I'm naturally cool, and then he's like, I've worked on being cool.
It in itself is my favorite arc, absolutely. And it had Jiraiya!
Yeah, I was about to say, it introduced Jiraiya. It also introduced Gaara, who's, like, inarguably one of the best characters in the series.
So good.
And, I mean, like, well, what you were saying about, like, us not really being prepared for anything, us not knowing anything, I mean, you got the feeling that you didn't really know much about the world and the Land of Waves, but I don't think you thought about it. And I don't think anybody really considered the sort of scale that a world like this could have. And then Kishimoto was just like, well, I mean, you know, here you go. He was like, you know, you thought Zabuza was strong, or, well, here's Gaara,
who's got a tailed beast within him.
A couple of characters. And, and you know, you think that you've
it was cool
like,
because Orochimaru used to be part of the village as well. It's like, yo,
not really grow stronger and prepare themselves for more threats. Like, you think that they're like top of the food chain now that they've completed an A-rank mission. But then you find out about somebody like Gaara, who goes through the entire Forest of Death without a scratch.
Yeah.
When Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura
well, he's got the ultimate defense
to do the same thing. Or, you know, you see Lee open up the 5th gate and just, like, clobber the same guy, and then you see, like, Orochimaru doing all of his crazy nonsense, and you're just like, wow, they're really nothing compared to all of these other people. They've got so much work they have to
out
do.
there.
And, you know, it's so cool. And, you know, even when they make it to the final rounds of the Chunin exams, you feel like, okay, yeah, like, you know, they've made it far. But they still have so much to work towards. They barely scratched the tip of the icebergs as far as their potential and just like the general potential of a ninja in this world. You know, it's like it's a really cool dynamic, and it gets you excited for the things to come. And then it also comes with all the great fights that I mentioned earlier. It's just great. And don't even get me started on Orochimaru versus Hiruzen and Naruto versus Gaara. Both fucking fantastic fights.
That was an insane climax, because
it was.
Got to teach you more about who Naruto is and who Gaara will become, and it gave Sasuke that jealous bone for Naruto.
It did. It really did. It was like, whoa, rivalry here.
Me to some extent.
I was better than him at one point.
From every moment of this arc,
No, Sasuke didn't think Naruto may have surpassed him. He just flat out had to accept that he was left in the dust when Naruto summoned Gamabunta.
Yeah.
He flat out says, like, what kind of fight is this when Gamabunta just shoots out, like, a little baby water jutsu and Shukaku responds with a wind jutsu?
Yeah.
And it creates this gigantic rainstorm that just consumes the whole forest, and, like, Sasuke just gets like, wow, like, I'm fucking nothing.
I can't do that.
This kid in just a few
How
days
do I
ago,
do that?
He was a dork. Like, what's going on?
And not to mention, he walks in now with Chidori.
Yeah.
And,
what a cool
Naruto
moment.
still surpassed him.
And he's still stronger.
I know. It's great. There's just all this one-upsmanship, but you never feel like it isn't earned, you know? Like, when Naruto summons Gamabunta, I mean, at this point, you just root for him because he's an underdog, and, you know, like, you want to see him succeed, and you feel like he's working towards it, and you're just like... And then when he summons Gamabunta successfully, he just starts clobbering Gaara, you're like, yes, dude, you got it. Come on, keep going.
Go for it.
You're rooting for him.
I don't always root for a main character. Like, in fact, I like Gaara as a character more than Naruto, but I still rooted for Naruto in that fight.
Definitely.
I mean, I rooted for Todoroki against Deku. I rooted for Todoroki. But I absolutely wanted Naruto to win, just because of how his character was developed.
Right, yeah. It's important in any fiction to make sure your protagonist is not just winning the physical battle, but also the ideological battle that no doubt has to exist for two people to fight in the first place. And
granted, him crawling up to Gaara with his chin was a little wacky, but it was pretty cool.
It was cool, yeah. It was a bit like, what?
But you're definitely on Naruto's
there's emotion
side there, because, like, he and Gaara are two sides of the same coin.
Yep, they definitely
Naruto knows.
They're both like what-if scenarios, aren't they?
Like Naruto
of each other.
Legacy of Lee there as well. Because until this point, Naruto is all hard work as opposed to natural talent. And this was the natural talent guy that beat Lee in the past.
There are so many reasons.
There was a real great fulfillment by the end of that arc.
And then, you know, on the other hand, you just have Hiruzen versus Orochimaru, which is just balls to the wall nuts. Just
amazing
this
fight.
is what it's like when you're Hokage.
This
you
is
know,
what
you think it's gonna be easy for Naruto to get here. These people are summoning fucking forests, reviving people from the dead.
Tile Shuriken.
That was back when Kishimoto hadn't expected for mountain level attacks to be standard.
He didn't realize the scale of the effective attacks were going to be.
And we know why Hiruzen was a great Hokage. He was the most economically effective leader of all time. He threw one shuriken and turned it into 5 shurikens. Shuriken jutsu.
Well, Hiruzen was also just generally a pretty chilled out
I love it.
dude.
It's the most economical.
But I mean, I don't want to.
I could turn one shuriken into 5.
The impact of death we've had in the series. You know, a lot of shows, characters don't die. Like, good guys just
when he died in the funeral, I was like,
characters.
what?
And this is the grandpa that sort of raised Naruto his whole life.
Yeah.
And he's a beast, and he died.
Man, I don't think two characters just standing still, staring each other in the eye, going... has been quite as intense ever before. But
with the
man,
Reaper Death Seal.
Just, like, struggling to pull Orochimaru's soul out. Like...
is he gonna get him? Is he gonna get him? Please get him.
I know. And it kept cutting back to it in between Naruto's fight with Gaara. And, like, every time, even though barely any progress was made, I was always like, oh, fuck, come on, Hiruzen, you can do it. And they're just like, and I was still completely engrossed. It was great.
Yeah, I am a massive fan of the Chunin exams. I would give it between
but
9 and a 9.5 for sure.
Wow.
But it's just a ripoff of the Hunter exam.
Well, I know that you're a massive Hunter x Hunter fan, and I mean, I guess you're invited back if I do one of these for Hunter x Hunter.
Oh man, that'd be so good.
I like the Chunin exams better than the Hunter exam.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far, but they're definitely completely different.
I was to say, I don't think I can compare them.
Hunter exams for sure. I don't know if they're more tightly written, but they're super good. I would probably give it a solid 8.5 or maybe a 9. You know, I don't want to give out these super high numbers too easily, but I think it was a really solid arc and one of the best.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Oh man, you talking about it has made me think it's better than the Zabuza one now, but I'm not sure. The Zabuza one just like it's still in my head, just like so epic.
Definitely an easy contender for best arc of part 1 with the Sasuke retrieval arc, but you know, I think that's all I have to say about the
For me,
Chunin
it's not
games.
really a contender. Not really a contender for me. I am fully voting for this as the best arc.
Right, there you go.
I can respect that, absolutely. I totally
Yeah,
get
it's
why people
decent
like it
arc.
as much as they do.
It's everything the series is built from that one arc, and the awe from that arc as to what's to come is just insane.
Boom.
So yeah, I think that
crazy.
basically wraps up the Chunin exams.
Right.
What's next? Filler arcs. Okay, we'll skip those. Next.
I don't think there's
Tsunade's arc.
actually any filler in between these. There might be a brief filler, but I think it just goes right to Tsunade's arc featuring Itachi and Kisame.
God, I love that arc too.
Yeah,
I
like it a
Naruto
lot
was
as
so
well.
good, man.
I know. Part 1's just really solid. So where do we want to start? We want to start with Itachi and Kisame showing up and just being awesome.
Cool.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Introduction of the Akatsuki was
Yeah,
great.
boss.
Because
Because you're like,
this
wait.
is right after we see Orochimaru. And
Yeah,
he's the
dude.
big bad guy of the show. And
And then
he's
it's like,
okay,
nope.
so there are these Akatsuki guys, and each one of them is like an Orochimaru.
Yeah, it's like there's a group of them.
What?
Yeah, man. When
And
Itachi
no one
just
was able to do anything to Itachi in that fight.
no
This
man.
is the guy that Sasuke was going after his whole life, and he's pledging his life just to take
Just to
this
kill
guy
him.
down.
Yeah.
This guy is head and shoulders above everyone, above anyone we've ever
And he
met.
also
I know,
came
it's
from the
great,
village.
And you know, he's gotten a decent amount of build up by this point, so you know who he is, and you know to expect him to be strong because
Yeah.
he wiped out the whole Uchiha
He killed the
clan.
whole
But
clan.
when the reality of him being multiple tiers above Kakashi and like every other Jonin sinks in, it's like, oh whoa, you know, I was not prepared for him to take this guy that was established as a total badass in the Zabuza arc.
Yeah,
and
Kakashi,
make
man,
him
just
look
like,
a
was just
little
like, what do I do?
child. Kakashi couldn't do anything.
No, what do I do?
And it's not
I'm
even
trapped to this
Kakashi's
thing.
fault. Like he did his best. He
Yeah.
was putting up a fight, but Itachi was just so
So
strong.
better.
And we didn't really even get to see Kisame do much, but he just gave off this really really
badass vibe.
threatening aura. You
Yeah.
could tell, or at least I could tell that he was supposed to be
But yeah,
really
he's partnered
powerful.
up with him, so it's like,
And
right, okay, it must be
it's just
decent.
like,
I was
wow.
able to tell Kisame was strong. I did not imagine he was Orochimaru tier at that point.
Yeah,
Right.
But
You know you have to be decent to be partnered up with
Itachi just
Itachi.
blew my mind.
I
Yeah.
know,
When have you ever seen something like Tsukuyomi?
right?
Where it's
Crazy.
a total one
World
shot.
of pain.
He just stares at a character who, as you mentioned, established badass.
Yeah, and then
This
all of a
guy
sudden he's like,
felt
whoa.
days of pain and
What do I do?
suffering
I'm trapped
within a
here.
moment, and then
Yeah.
just collapsed. That was
Exactly.
terrifying.
Yeah, it was
I've never
scary.
seen anything like that anywhere.
Oh.
Meanwhile, Naruto and Sasuke are still Naruto and Sasuke tier, and you're just like, how are they supposed to beat this
Yeah,
guy?
they can't do anything.
Like, what? Speaking of,
So-
Sasuke's fight with Itachi is great. The moment where he just rips up the wall with the Chidori only to get stopped in his tracks effortlessly
And it's like,
by
nope.
Itachi is incredible. You know, and you get a
And
real
going
feel
to show
for,
the distance between them.
yeah, and you get a real feel for passionate Sasuke is about
Yeah, he's like,
exacting his
there's no way I can
how
get him, but I want him.
consumed he is
We're gonna kill him.
by this desire to take Itachi out. And,
And it's
yeah,
not
like when
just
he,
the consumption by this desire, but it's also the feeling of ineptitude that he has as he's progressing. Like,
Yeah.
the last arc just finished with him seeing Naruto completely one-up him.
Yeah.
And here he finally meets his brother after searching for him, and he
And he's
wanted
like,
to meet him.
this is
already,
my goal.
And
Yeah.
he got completely destroyed. He felt like he was worthless, and
Yeah.
that's really what
His whole
leads up to
purpose
the
was
Sasuke
just like,
retrieval arc.
yeah, exactly. I think it's a fantastic setup for the Sasuke retrieval arc too, and the way it's weaved into the need for them to go get Tsunade is great. And I mean, I guess it creates a mini plot hole later when you're like, wait, why did Itachi put Sasuke and Tsukuyomi if he actually loved him? There are a lot of ways you can explain that. They're not really relevant to this video, but you know, I guess it's like he didn't want Sasuke to be this gung ho against other people of similar power. He was like because you know, in hindsight, Itachi does look like an asshole for this, but it's
Yeah.
probably Itachi being like, hey, for your own good, don't go rushing into a fight with S-class ninjas.
Yeah, I
You
suppose
don't
there could be
them.
that, yeah.
They'll
It's
put
like,
you
look,
in
learn
Tsukuyomi
from
and make a
this
powerful
really
ninja
harsh
to
lesson.
save you. You know,
I was always teeter-tottering whether Kishimoto knew about Itachi's
He didn't.
double
He
agent
was-
thing.
he was
Ooh.
definitely meant to be a bad guy
Yeah.
at first, but I
And that's
think
how I saw it
everything's
as well.
Do you think?
yeah, everything still fits in
If-
hindsight.
it did
He's
very
got
well in
the
fitting
little
in,
bit
then,
of
if that's the
mental
case.
gymnastics for it. But I mean, I don't think it takes away from the moment at the time. Definitely
No,
not.
absolutely
And
not.
Jiraiya is a badass, and at the time you think that he's
Jiraiya's
stronger
class.
than Itachi and Kisame together. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, because Itachi, after wrecking everyone, taking down the Leaf Village's top tier, he says to Kisame, if both of us fought him together, I would still die.
It's probably
and
why
even
everybody...
that fight with Jiraiya was insane, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he just summons the frog stomach and has it
And then
just
trapped
eat up
in
the
there.
hotel.
And
And
he
they have to
uses
leave.
Amaterasu before we ever heard of it, and manages to break out of this unbreakable thing.
The first time I saw those black flames, I was geeked, dude. It looked so cool. It still does.
Yeah,
look cool. Also, this
Amaterasu.
arc has the best opening. Fighting Dreamers
Quality.
is so good.
I didn't really love any of the Naruto openings per se. but
I guess I get it. Shippudden's openings are better, but
15
No.
are all great.
No.
oh yeah, absolutely.
No.
I also like the first
Five,
Shippuden opening, but I meant the best part 1 opening is definitely Go or
Yeah,
Fighting
fair
Dreamers.
Fuck,
It
we
became
are
the-
We haven't even
Yeah.
talked about Tsunade yet in her arc, but Tsunade is awesome, and I think she was intended to be a lot stronger than she actually ended up being, because the power scaling
Got
hadn't
destroyed
gotten
by
ridiculous
Kabuto.
yet, or the power levels hadn't gotten ridiculous yet. Well, yeah, she lost to
fight
Kabuto, but
with
it
Kabuto was
was implied
interesting.
that wasn't her fault. And it was also implied that this was because Kabuto was just really strong, like a really good medical ninja anyway. Like, Tsunade breaks this wall down with 1 punch, and by then you hadn't really seen anything like that. I mean, like, Jiraiya was hyping up the Rasengan to be this, like, super duper
You must learn
hit 'em
this.
with this they die jutsu, and he's like, are you ready to fucking rumble? And then he pulls it out and he slams it into a tree, and it doesn't even destroy the whole thing. So Tsunade, like, breaking a whole wall apart is like, okay, she's probably
that was cool.
a pretty big deal. I think that the way she was characterized in this arc was pretty cool too. She was a pretty good foil to Naruto. She's not as obvious of a foil as like Gaara or Sasuke or Neji or whatever, but she's still a foil to him nonetheless. She represents the complete and total opposite of his youthful optimism. She's an old cynic, and she's pretty much completely different from like Naruto in like every way. She has this like very feminine cynicism about her, whereas Naruto has this like clearly like young boy adventurer optimism. You know,
Believe
it's
it!
pretty cool, and it's a great dynamic that I don't see a lot of people talking about as much as I would like. I just think
like that dynamic, and I do like how Tsunade did not want the job at all when she
she didn't. She's like, no.
She was totally, the opposite of idealistic about everything.
Yeah. And, like, she talks shit about Hiruzen, and you're just like, whoa, like, weren't you one of his students? And you get this sense of depth from her that you're not really used to at this point. I mean, obviously there are characters with layers and stuff,
she has
but it's like...
PTSD from her fear of blood.
Oh, yeah, of course, I forgot about that. Yeah,
exactly.
at the sight of it, she freaks out. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm the
Yeah.
hugest fan, per se, of Tsunade.
I get it, but in hindsight, I think she's great. Like with her, you get this sense of depth that you don't get with a lot of other characters, because, like, sure, people like Gaara and Orochimaru and like Sasuke at this point, like they're obviously complex characters, but they're so fantastical, and like obviously they're a product of the kind of world that they're from, right? Like Sasuke wouldn't really exist in the real world. Gaara wouldn't really exist in the real world. I mean, maybe there are cases to be made for stuff like that, but it's not as common as somebody like Tsunade, who's super grounded and really easy to relate to if you look at her through the eyes of an adult. And when you're a kid, you don't really get her, but I think it's sort of the same thing with like Squidward. It makes a lot more sense once you grow up, and I think Kishimoto did a really good job writing her. And she was also like a badass.
First of all, Squidward bodies Tsunade, no question.
Yeah.
Second of all, I didn't like Tsunade for different reasons. Not per se
okay,
that
what's
she
that?
was a pessimist about everything, but she was so immature in many ways in that arc. Like, her wanting to pick a fight with Naruto.
Right.
Wow,
I get it.
she's fighting against this 12-year-old kid. Very impressive. She sees her dead brother in him, so she's more pissed at him. And, for example, her going to heal Orochimaru's arms. Wow, that's the most noble thing in the world.
Well,
so she poisons Jiraiya before going, so Jiraiya can't do anything.
Oh, yeah,
and then
dick
she
move.
changes her mind on the spot, and then Jiraiya decides to join, but he's drunk, so he can't really fight. So we have Orochimaru, who has no arms, Jiraiya, who's, like, drugged,
Yeah.
Tsunade, who's scared of blood, Kabuto, who's like the strongest fighter in the whole fight.
Yeah.
And then you have Naruto, who beats him with a Rasengan.
Yeah.
I didn't love that whole fight. I felt like it was a bunch of cripples that were crippled for stupid reasons, fighting each other for even stupider reasons.
But
and
this all came from the fact that Tsunade was a very human character, and I think that Kishimoto was less afraid to give her very, like, real, not, like, super extreme or cartoonish flaws. Like, she just feels a lot more nuanced and, like an actual person than a lot of characters do.
Than a lot of the others.
Series, in my opinion. And, you know, like, it's totally fine to have, like, these, you know, these, like, super badass, like, ninja assassin characters, like, you know, like Kakashi or whatever, that exist in a world like this, because, like, sure, whatever, it's Naruto. Take advantage of the fact that that stuff is there. But the fact that, but Kishimoto showed that he could also write, like, really, really, really just, you know, down-to-earth
That's
people.
true,
like,
I suppose.
I mean, I get she made a bunch of really stupid decisions, but I think that's the point.
It's not just the stupid decisions. It's that
their emotions going the way.
All those decisions all disappeared because everything turned out hunky-dory.
Well, yeah, I think that there should have been a couple more consequences for the way that she acted, but that's more
and then, like,
everybody else's
your fingers
fault.
At the end of the arc, and she's a perfect Hokage, even though she was this drunk, gambling, pessimistic.
I don't think that she ever
anyone.
I don't think that she was a perfect Hokage, and I think it's actually made very clear that she's not fond of having to do all the paperwork.
Yeah, she does at times mention that
she
she's
becomes
like,
so
annoyed.
fond of Naruto because of how much of her little brother she sees in him that she's like, you know what? My little brother would probably want me to be Hokage. He'd never forgive me if I didn't take the job. So, you know, she keeps that in mind. I think it's just, you got to take into account how, like, life-changing of an experience something like that would be, when the entire reason she's cynical is because, or one of the main reasons she's cynical is because she lost her brother.
Yeah.
And then she meets some kid who's like the spitting image
well,
of
not
him,
just
and
a
she's just
brother
like,
though, was it? It was her
like,
lover as well.
I'm only like this because of like I feel like I'm a walking.
Because that's Orochimaru's thing, and it's like,
she
bring
did
him
her
back.
best to fix herself, and I thought it was good. I think she became less interesting after this character arc of hers was completed, but I think it was.
Yeah, that's why she went to fix Orochimaru's arms, isn't it? Because he's like, well, I could resurrect him.
I don't think it's the main reason I like the arc, but I think it was something definitely worth talking about and discussing. There's a bunch of other cool stuff.
I liked a lot of the whole Tsunade development as well.
Yeah.
I just feel like it did maybe detract from the overall arc.
I guess I get that. I thought it was boring when I was younger, and I also get that some people just don't care about that sort of thing, but personally, I just think that it was really cool. Maybe some people will disagree with me and think that she's just not a well-written character at all. Maybe people.
Oh no, I don't agree with that.
She's a well-written.
No, I'm not saying that you will. I feel like a bunch of people will be like, oh, you think Tsunade's well-written? You as a garbage tasting character.
Nah.
I think Kishimoto did a good job with her. Kabuto being a badass for a little bit was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool to see.
I just expected him to be a complete non-factor in the fight. And
that's the thing, you think he's going to be nothing, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, he does some clever shit that we've not seen.
He ended up crippling her.
By making her
the best moment
joints
of the arc,
working the other way, so she's trying to use right arm to leg and stuff.
Naruto performing the Rasengan, because it feels so earned and like
seeing what a medical ninja can actually do in a fight was cool.
This arc, aside from introducing the Akatsuki and all that, is the best training arc.
Oh, of course. Well, because there's also like the training, like Naruto completes the training in the middle of a fight, and he does it so creatively too. He's like, well, since I can't contain the chakra in my hands properly, I can just have a shadow
clone do it, yeah.
And it's like, whoa, yeah, that's fucking genius.
Yeah, that's very clever.
Thing that
use what you can do
to come up with. So it's like,
effectively.
You don't feel like it was an ass pull or anything, and when he hits Kabuto with that Rasengan, it's a really cool moment for him, and you feel like it's like
I feel like it's a climax to, really it wraps up everything of that arc.
Yeah.
It wraps up Tsunade's story. He was able to, win his side of the bet. He actually won the fight, doing something relatively important.
Yeah.
The whole arc was building on this training him to learn a Rasengan.
The Rasengan, which then becomes quite
become a ninja.
Big deal for him.
Tons of progress for his character. Especially assuming that he was always the kid that was never able to do anything. He made imperfect clone jutsus in the beginning. And here he's learning a jutsu that only like 2 other or 3 other people
S-class
ever.
Right.
Well, I mean, then you find
Jutsu
out
in it?
Kakashi also knew it, so you're like, I guess it's not that
That's why he
impressive.
said
But at
2
the
or
time,
3.
it was this like Kage level feat, and you're like, whoa. Oh yeah, no, he was always supposed to be.
Yeah,
So never
Kakashi.
mind, but
It's fine having it.
that's really all I have to say about the arc. Oh, overall, it's really good. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. A lot of people think it's like the least good. I mean, in terms of like excitement, it's less exciting overall than the other arcs in the series. But I think the writing is mostly like really solid. It's honestly some of the best character writing in the whole series.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because of Tsunade. I think the interactions with like Itachi and like Jiraiya and Sasuke and like Naruto and everybody are just really cool. Orochimaru still being a menace even without his arms.
Yeah, he can still do stuff.
Just really good stuff. Probably an 8, maybe an 8.5. Again, it's not as exciting as the Chunin exam, so I don't like it as much. But I can't deny that it's just a really quality chunk of the series.
So it's so funny that you're saying that, because you're the guy who was praising it, and I was trying to tell you my issues with it, and I would also give it an 8 or an 8.5. I basically loved everything about the arc, too.
Yeah.
I thought Tsunade's part was relatively weak in comparison to, the whole Itachi.
I can understand that.
That was going on
Itachi
there.
definitely
And
steals
even
the
Naruto's
show.
training.
Yeah, he definitely does. It's like,
Itachi's and Jiraiya. Jiraiya was the MVP in that arc.
Of course. When he threatens
Really,
to kill
Naruto was
Tsunade.
so good, man.
I know. When he threatens to kill Tsunade if she helps Orochimaru, it's like fucking bone chilling.
Whoa.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yes, because
Big
this
deal.
is that goofy character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not meant to be,
He's
like,
real in
serious.
I don't know. I'm a huge fan of the arc as well.
I love it, yeah.
Alright. Yeah. And then we have filler arcs, which are all bad.
No, I don't know
except
what you're
for the
talking
one
about.
where they were looking for Kakashi's true face.
That was
That was
good.
funny.
That's, like, the only
That was
good
well
Naruto
funny.
ever.
Yeah. So then Sasuke.
You had the crow.
I think that this arc is fantastic. I think it's really underrated. I'll go ahead and say now I'm tempted to give it a 9.5 because, man, stakes are high and it feels super intense
That's
the
true.
entire time. Like, I mean, reading through it the first time, nobody would really make fun of you if you honestly thought that everyone was actually going to die.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what I thought.
From Naruto.
Yeah.
Because like
I thought they're killing off these guys. They're killing off these
Let's start
guys.
from the beginning. I think that Naruto and Sasuke's fight on the rooftop is one of the most underrated fights in the series. It's really good. I think like just
Of the 3 Naruto versus Sasuke fights,
yeah,
I would say that they're all kind of on the same ground. They're all pretty even. In fact,
There's a lot of
I would say
emotion in
that
all of them.
The final battle that everyone likes so much, I think that's my least favorite of the 3 fights.
I get that. I disagree, but I get where you're coming from. But I think that even still, this fight is phenomenal. And I also think that the way that Kishimoto draws Sasuke in this arc, so you can tell that he's still the same character, but you can also still clearly tell that he's gone
improved.
through a massive character shift because of his feelings of inferiority towards both Naruto and Itachi.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the removal of his headband is a great piece of symbolism.
It
makes him
is.
look so much different too, like surprisingly. Like with his headband, maybe it's just the way his face is drawn. But without his headband, he
With
just
the
looks a lot
headband,
more
he
menacing.
looks like a kid.
Yeah, but
Without the
without
headband,
it,
he looks like
More
he's
adult.
chosen a path.
yeah.
Well,
Not even that. I just think like the way he looking at him, he just looks a lot more menacing and like a lot more. I don't know if it makes him look more powerful, but it makes him look less like a child, and it's weird because I don't know if it was done intentionally or not. But regardless, it's just a really cool minor design change that I think works wonders for Sasuke. And I think Sasuke is really interesting in this arc. I just think that I know a lot of people hate him, and I get it.
In the beginning of the arc, when he had that fight on the rooftop with Naruto, and
Yeah.
they each hit that water tanker
so cool.
that Kakashi threw them into,
Yeah, and
Sasuke has like this smug face that
He's
he
like,
destroyed
ha
that
ha!
water
I've done more
tanker
damage.
way
Yeah.
better than Naruto.
And then when he sees the
He's still
back end of it,
superior. Then he walks around the other side and he sees that the Rasengan
decimated it.
annihilated it
Yeah.
in comparison to his Chidori.
yeah.
That's when he was
He's
like,
like,
yeah,
I'm
Naruto
still
passed me,
not
I'm worthless,
there.
I'm nothing, and I'm gonna go train by Snake Bastard!
Yeah, like, I have to go there now.
Well, I don't
need
think
the
he
power.
actually planned to go to Orochimaru until the Sound 5, or the Sound 4 came to Konoha. I also, by the way, before that, like he has a cool interaction with Kakashi, where he's like, oh, well, what if I just kill everybody that's important to you? And Kakashi's like, well, I mean, that's already happened, so good luck. And then he's just like, oh, I mean, maybe there is more to life than revenge, but you know, he still goes down the path of vengeance, which I get. But I think that moment with he and Kakashi's great.
Oh, absolutely, because I still think Kakashi's one of the best characters in the series.
Oh, of course.
Definitely.
If I would have to pick a main character for Naruto, weird as it sounds, it would probably be Kakashi.
Kakashi would make a good main character.
It's got so much going on.
He is the main character, though.
No,
the story
the show's
is really
called
the story
Naruto.
of his whole life. Okay, look, I'm not debating you on this. This is a bloodlusted debate here. You would probably win if you took that side.
I get why you think so, though. I think that he would definitely make a stellar main character if Kishimoto chose
He's
him.
not wrong, though. Everything does kind of revolve around Kakashi in some shape or form.
Besides the point.
He's linked to everything.
Sasuke's fight with the Sound 4 after this is also pretty good. Like, he beats them all up in base with his Sharingan, and then you find out that they have curse marks too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
That's
so
what
I guess Sasuke's
Sasuke
not the
could
only one.
do.
These guys are all pretty strong. And you find out that they take out 2 Jonin by themselves, and then all of these Genin have to go up against them, and you're like, oh no. And it's really intense. And,
it is like,
you know,
they're gonna die.
Really bad vibes. Jirobo uses his mud coffin thingy, and they are losing it. It almost beats them on the spot.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
and of course, they won with quick thinking. They didn't win with brute force either.
Yeah, well, they couldn't do anything to break the dome. The only way they were able to is because, you know, Shikamaru was there, and Neji was there, and Choji was able to break out of it, and you know, so you know, it was a lot of things that added up, and it was a pretty cool moment, but it was just to get past Jirobo, and like when that sinks in, you're like, oh man, fuck, they're gonna have a hard time against these guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Shoji's like, I'll fight him. You guys go on ahead, and you know, I was just like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you're gonna die. And then I thought he did, and then like he brings out the pills, and I was just like, don't eat the red one.
Don't eat them. No, don't do it.
One,
don't do it.
He kicks Jirobo's ass, and it's so cool. But then I was worried that Choji was gonna die, and it's great. Like Choji versus Jirobo shouldn't have been
throughout that
as cool
arc
as it was.
that Choji and Neji both died.
Oh,
really
I did too.
Everything else in the whole arc feels so much more real.
I know. That was the thing. Like, when I was watching Naruto and Sasuke fight in the Valley of the End, I was like, Naruto has to bring him back. Like, it didn't even cross my mind that Sasuke would still escape. Like, I was just like, that's how fiction is. You know, he's gonna win.
They can't die for nothing.
Back, and then it doesn't happen, and I just like couldn't process it when I was younger because I was like, but Neji and Choji died for this. What are you talking about?
How could that happen?
It was actually like. And then you get, like, all the filler, and I thought that they were, like, soft ending the series or something with Sasuke leaving, and I was just like, what the fuck? This was the saddest shit ever. You know, I couldn't... I wasn't ready for it as a kid, but, you know... I just think it's all so good, and every single one of the fights is great. I think Kishimoto designed the powers of the Sound 5 very well. Considering who they went up against and everything. Like, all of the situations were really interesting.
Because we understand that the Sound 4 or Sound 5, we understand that the Sound 5 are crazy strong.
They are powerful at the
time.
time.
They're taking on Jonin. Apparently Kimimaru beat the Kazekage, which, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, you have these Genin fighting them, and these are not, you know, the stellar Genin. I mean, they went through Chunin exams, and only Shikamaru is a Chunin. Choji lost to Dosu in 3 seconds. But, like...
And Kiba's Kiba.
They were doing... Sorry?
And Kiba's Kiba. But this is actually the only arc where Kiba's cool at all. His fight with Sakon and Yukon's fantastic.
Yeah, great fight. And it's also great that it's not that each Genin won. Kiba would have lost, Shikamaru would have lost, even though his fight was amazing also.
Dude, Shikamaru was just like... I think Tayuya, like, just knew that he was a better, smarter fighter than her, but that she was just
stronger,
more well-equipped, and that she was stronger. But, like, if he had any good jutsu up his sleeve, she would have been done for it. Like I think you sort of get that.
It was one thing after another that Shikamaru outsmarted her.
Like, it was so
9
cool.
moves or whatever. He threw a kunai for her to pick up to stab him so she could get close enough to him so his shadow strangle jutsu could be strong enough I don't know. I loved that fight.
It was
Boss.
great. Yeah, when
Boss.
he threw the flash bomb so that his shadows would like would
So
be able.
clever.
Yeah.
So he got the puppets. Yeah, that was an amazing fight as well. The Choji fight I only liked because really that's the first time we saw Choji really get into something.
I thought it was
the Neji
super
fight
hype.
I liked because, well, it was a pretty sick fight. Because
It was-
Neji's the only opponent that could have fought Kidomaru at all. No one else had a chance whatsoever against his web thingies without Neji's chakra.
It was so weird seeing Neji so out of control for an entire fight like that. Like he used like all of his strongest moves and they like didn't do anything. Like 64 palms was worthless. Rotation was outplayed. I think it's a bit weird that he beat Kidomaru with like one attack. But,
right, so that's what I wanted to say that I liked. He beat Kidomaru with one attack that Kidomaru did not see coming.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a ninja fight.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
He was outclassed, he put up a good fight, and he won. Not in the way that Kidomaru expected.
The best part about that was he knew he was going to get hit by the arrow. And so, like, he just accepted that it was going to happen. And he was like, okay, so I have to make sure it hits me in a non-lethal area.
Yeah.
That way I can use the string to still kill this guy by, using the gentle fist. And that's so...
Chakra
that's so
strangle
real.
jutsu. Can you imagine if he would have actually had some sort of technique that shot out strings that would actually kill people like that? That would have been really cool.
Yeah. Then Neji
That's just a theory. A Naruto theory.
Thanks for watching.
There we go.
Gaara and Lee versus Kimimaro was stellar.
Boss.
But before we talk about that, let's not gloss over Kiba versus Sakon and Yukon, because that fight was like all types of insane.
It was crazy.
You just had them like
a guy that could like split into two or go into one, and half the limbs pop out.
And that gigantic mega fang over fang thing that he did, and then like when he stabbed himself to force Yukon to leave his body.
Yep.
It was like it gave me a lot of respect for Kiba that I eventually lost later on in the series.
Yeah, because he doesn't do anything.
Like Kiba's dumb.
Doesn't do anything
he's not
later on.
strong later in the series. Like he seems clever and like a pretty good ninja here, but then like you get to the 5 Kage Summit where he's like. He barely knows any jutsu, and he's like,
I can't do anything.
Fucking kill Sasuke myself, like fang over fang.
They introduced far too many characters in Shippudden to let people like actually like kind of really character progression.
But here he's great. If you have anything you want to say about it, go ahead, and then we can talk about Lee and Gaara versus Kimimaro.
So I liked Kiba in this arc as well, and that's because he didn't win. I mean, I like that he put up a good fight, and I like that he thought out of the box a way to get through Sakon on Yukon by stabbing himself.
Yeah.
But I still like that he didn't have enough force to actually take the victory.
Yeah.
And that's why the Sand Ninja, these guys that were the enemies, they were the antagonists, some of the main antagonists of the Chunin exams, these guys came to their aid. That entrance was crazy.
Yeah,
I know. It blew my mind, because I thought they were going to die, and then that Naruto was going to have to take out Sakon and Taiyuya alone. And, because I was like, I didn't even know how he was going to beat Kimimaro, because Kimimaro was giving him a run for his money at the time, but then the sand showed up, and it was like, it's crazy. Well, Naruto had already left by the time the sand showed
Shikamaru,
up,
that's when the ship sailed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah. From that point on, everybody was like, okay, yeah, they got it together.
And Kankuro was an utter badass in that fight, too.
Right?
Or, well, Kankuro got the Kiba treatment and got wrecked by Haruko Shell.
Yep. In 2 seconds, it sucked. But, for now, Kankuro was great. Wow! Yeah, both of the guys that fought Sakon and I guess that's Sakon and Yukon's power. It just makes whoever he fights fade into irrelevance.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sad.
We cracked the code.
But Lee versus Kimimaro was amazing.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Boss, the drunken fist.
Introducing the drunken fist to Lee, where you have flashbacks of guys saying, like, when he gets drunk, even I can't stop him.
Just
and
a
this
single
is that guy
drop.
That was crippled in the past. He was crippled. He thought he would never walk again. This is his first time fighting. He's fighting against this guy that beat the Kazekage, who's the father of the guy that beat Lee in the past.
Well,
and he was putting up a solid fight.
I don't think he single-handedly beat the Kazekage. I think he helped Orochimaru, but, still...
I'm not coming from the power scaling aspect that Kimimaro is stronger than Kazekage. I mean, thematically, that's how it happened.
Yeah, no, I got you. I get what you mean.
He's the guy who got credit for it.
Yeah. No, I still think that he was just there when, like, to help. I don't think he single-handedly did it. I think he just helped them, like, do it stealthily. But they acted like he was a key part of it, so he's obviously pretty important. But, no, I think it's a cool little thematic exchange between the two of them, like you said.
Yeah, and not only that, but this is the guy that Orochimaru originally wanted
to take over his body. Yeah,
this guy was a prime candidate for,
like,
you know, top
he
tier
must have been top tier for Orochimaru to want to use his body.
Skill.
Yes, and if he would have been healthy,
because he was sick.
May have taken
he was like,
over the Sharingan in certain aspects.
I mean, that would have been dumb because Sharingan
would have been really dumb. But at least at that point in the show, that's what we were seeing. This guy was ripping out his own spine to use as a sword.
Oh, so weird.
Using his fingers' bones as bullets. How crazy is that?
So cool.
Gaara showing up was great too. Like when he just sunk the whole forest in Sandman. Like awesome. Dude.
Wherever there is rock, wherever there is dirt, I can make more sand. And he makes like this tsunami of sand.
Yeah, Gaara going from
He was working together with Lee.
Yeah.
This was the biggest moment.
It was so cool.
And him, their fight was the best fight in the show.
Yeah, decent. So and then now that teaming up
together to fight this guy after how Naruto seemed to have changed Gaara. This drastic shift from the character he used to be.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Respects Lee.
That's what I was gonna say. Like Gaara going from psycho to just this like stoic,
kind of
calm badass was so
more
crazy.
chill now.
And it was something I was on board with as soon as it happened. I loved it, and this like established Gaara as not only a powerhouse, but just like one of the coolest characters in terms of personality as well. And like he and Kimimaro just kept going back and forth. I mean, Kimimaro couldn't really do anything to him, but Gaara couldn't really do anything to him either. Like he just kept doing all this crazy nonsense, and Kimimaro just kept clapping back from it because none of it was enough to stop him. And it was crazy. It was like Hiruzen versus Orochimaru levels of insane, honestly, compared to like everything else that we had seen up to this point.
Yeah, and just the emotional weight of all the players in that fight there.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who allegedly partially beat the Kazekage.
Yeah. Okay.
The guy he was fighting, who crippled Lee in the past.
Yeah.
Who's worked past his issues, and Lee worked past his issues. I don't know. I loved everything.
And they're both working together to fight the guy.
I agree.
So
it's stellar.
Yeah, top tier.
Agreeable.
And then, of course, we have the climax. You know,
Naruto versus Sasuke is one of the best fictional fights ever. Like, the first Final Valley fight that they have is so fucking good. Like, man, I can't think of any issues I have with it. When I was a kid, I watched it, like...
With me, I was kind of like, the animation in parts was a bit...
I love it so much.
Because there was so much going on, but it was still so good to watch.
Great. It's so intense. Like, there isn't a second in the fight.
It's really the ultimate climax for everything we've been seeing in the
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was such a good way to finish off everything that happened.
Everything Naruto had against everything Sasuke had. Except Sasuke also had the curse mark. Naruto had the Nine-Tails cloak, and he had the stage 2 curse mark. And
because it was like, Sasuke was like, I need to get stronger than Naruto, and then it leaves Naruto feeling how Sasuke was like, no, now, I need to be stronger than him to get him back.
I think also, it was more than just Naruto, it was more than just, like, good versus bad. It was more than Naruto fighting to save Sasuke from Orochimaru, and it was more than Sasuke fighting so that he could go to Orochimaru. I think part of it was like Naruto versus Sasuke, like personally.
I like how they had the Madara and Hashirama even though they statues there as well, which is cool.
Like it was Naruto fighting against the bad parts of Sasuke,
while
the bad parts of Sasuke are fighting Naruto back.
I mean, I think it's even more like complex than that. I think it's like
much more complex.
You get like
Sasuke was fighting with himself the whole fight as well.
Absolutely, but I think it's. You could tell that neither of them really wanted to be fighting under these circumstances, but they were both clearly thankful that everything was going the way it was, if only because they would be able to fight each other without holding back. And I think that you get the sense that they were trying harder in this fight than they had ever tried in anything
that they've done before.
I think Naruto was fighting Sasuke harder than he fought Gaara, than he fought Kabuto. Like this was super important to him. Not only proving that he could beat Sasuke, but also saving Sasuke, like keeping his promise to Sakura, keeping his best friend from from leaving and being killed by Orochimaru. It was just so important to him. And then we, as the audience, also know the additional pressure that Naruto has on his shoulders because he's had to watch every member of his team stay behind.
Yeah, stay behind, and he has no idea what's happened to them.
You know, fight against the sign. Yeah, and he, you know, he had to stomach that. And, like, there was, because they knew that if they didn't keep going and leaving people behind, then there was no
way he'd get to Sasuke.
Another layer on top of that, because could you have imagined the flip side? Let's say Sasuke loses this fight. Naruto beats him. He's stronger. Sasuke's narrative ends.
Yeah.
Sasuke's whole life ends. His whole purpose ends.
Yeah.
To himself, he becomes a completely useless person.
Yeah.
He can't beat this one worst kid in the class that failed 3 times in a row. He's doing everything. He got this crazy Super Saiyan power-up at this point.
Yeah.
And he still loses to Naruto. Naruto drags him back. He looks at all of the friends that, you know, allegedly died. Again, a lot of allegedlys here.
Yeah.
That allegedly died along the way. And all to bring him back because... And he realizes that, wow, I'm just a baby. I'm just a loser. I'll never amount to anything. And that'll be the end. So they were really fighting, putting everything on the line.
Well, I also think that Sasuke learned how to respect Naruto during this fight because, like, I mean, Naruto was doing some
I'll
stuff
give you
that
that.
we've
Yes,
just never
definitely,
seen
because
before,
he's like,
from him. He was
I've even got this power
like,
up now.
Bunch of, you know, like
still putting up a decent fight, but then
stuff that no gaming
could have killed
should
him.
be capable of. And, you know, Sasuke was just forced to accept it. And as more of the Nine Tails chakra leaked out, Sasuke started to get more and more overwhelmed. And, see, that's another thing. We haven't even talked about, like, the way the fight is paced. And it's just the way it slowly escalates. It's the complete opposite of the fight at the end of the series. Where they start out at maximum
and then it
power
goes backwards, doesn't it? And they're like just like trying to punch each other.
As they start running out of chakra, they start, you know, like slowly losing power and fighting more basically. Like this was them building up
from
to everything they could possibly do.
Shadow clones everywhere.
I think that they were both of them were getting better at fight. Well, I don't think it's clearly shown that they were both getting stronger during the fight. You know, they were both learning things about one another because of how important it was to them. So they were like becoming more skilled, learning how to counter certain things. Sasuke's Sharingan became more powerful, and like so you have
because you see the marks on his eye as they're fighting as well.
Sasuke realizes that Naruto is moving faster than his eyes can see, and
and then that's another thing I was gonna say. And then like when he finally unleashes like what at this point what we know as the most Nine Tails chakra like.
At the time,
that he can, you know, like Sasuke just gets completely overwhelmed, and like the way the music is used, and the way everything's framed, and like the cinematography. It's great.
That I remember every time I think about this fight. It's where Naruto punches Sasuke, and he pops up in the water, punches Sasuke in the stomach, kicks him up in the air like 3 times, and then goes flying. That one scene was so powerful.
I know.
Like the force behind where Sasuke's his eyes, like his pupils fade.
Yeah.
And he just like belches out as he flies away.
There's also the eagle drop where he like pile drives Naruto into the floor, and then like and that was after doing like the fire style on his big ladder of clones, and like all of them just like bouncing across the water, or both of them bouncing across the water at multiple points throughout the fight, and like all the collisions with the side.
Flying out like
the clones are everywhere.
Yeah, and like Sasuke dodging all of them. It's so good, and I think also that the fight knows when to cut the music. Because music's playing for most of the fight.
Majority of it, yeah.
But there are some points in the fight where it's completely silent and it's perfect because like you don't need any music just because like you know
it's just
like
the sound of them fighting.
I mean I don't know. I feel like I'm talking in circles and maybe I sound like I'm just kind of bullshitting, but like I mean like there's so many good aspects to this fight. Like it's perfect. It's one of the best in the series, easily, hands down. And I prefer it to the one at the end of the series. Not by much because I think they're both really good. But Kishimoto
but this one's better. Definitely better. I prefer to watch this one than
I way preferred this to the end of the series. This was also one of my top fights in the series. It was one of the top fights of childhood. Just Naruto, just Rasengan versus Chidori was
so good.
I think that it's better than Gaara versus Lee, and I get why people may disagree, but I think all of the thematic...
There's more emotional stake involved.
Or what push it over the edge. I mean, it's also just really cool, And I mean, of course, I'm biased because I really like Sasuke, but I just thought it was great, and also like the location and the introduction of like Hashirama and Gaara too.
Madara and Hashirama statues being there.
I was about to get to that because so much of Naruto is history, and this is kind of like history repeating itself as well.
Yeah, that's true.
You have the Uchiha guy
it happens all the time in Naruto. Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade teaching Sasuke,
and then you have Naruto, the kid who wants to become Hokage, against the Uchiha guy who's running away from his village, but this time Sasuke wins.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a crazy retelling of history in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
And that's really what a lot of Naruto is. And you know, kind of at the end of the series, it went off the rails a little with the whole reincarnation stuff. That's more than just
those are weird.
history repeating itself. That's like a whole different level. But all in all, I loved this fight as well. And I thought it was a great ending to the first part of Naruto at episode 135, where the series ended.
With, you know, there wasn't like 90 episodes of filler.
No other episodes at all. You have to read the manga to see Naruto and Jiraiya leave, because there's no episodes after episode 135.
That is actually the final episode, and everything else doesn't exist.
Right.
No, that's what I'm surprised they didn't make any filler afterwards. Honestly.
I would have cast.
Wasn't it like 88 episodes
like 85
actually?
Filler episodes, introduced like star villages and all that.
Yeah, dude. But I mean, whatever. I guess they don't know how to do business. Anyway, as for the arc, I probably give it a 9.5.
It is, boss.
A lot of my
Zabuza's arc's still my favorite, though.
From the fight with Naruto and Sasuke, because it's.
We are all allowed to have our own opinions.
But everything else about the arc is pretty good. There's some stuff that that I think drags it down. So you could argue that it's not as good as a 9.5, which is like a masterpiece, but I really like it, especially the manga version. I think
the manga's amazing.
Everything
Volume 1 to 28 is incredible.
Sasuke fight is better in the manga.
Or is it 27?
Is
27 the last one, and then 28 is the first?
I mean, like the better fights in the series, like Gaara versus
my manga's all over the place.
Naruto versus Sasuke are obviously better in the anime.
I think it's 1 to 27 actually.
And I think my favorite anime to manga comparison fight, Obito versus Kakashi, is better in the anime.
Oh, absolutely. So I mean, like that sort of stuff, you know. But for the most part, I'm
manga's incredible.
The manga version of the arc, and I think that it is stellar. It's some of the.
I think
best
it's 127 actually. Now that I think about it, where's
I mean,
127 gone? My manga's all over the place.
Some of the best shonen out there, honestly. It's really good, and I think it has something for everybody.
Yeah, it's 127.
Before it gets
28 is the first one.
Here at the end of 2018, or depending on how long it takes to edit this video, maybe the beginning of 2019. This is the first time in history that part 1 of Naruto is actually underrated, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's better than a lot of what we see.
I always said that it's the best bit.
I think that the first half of Shippudden is on par with part 1 of Naruto. I think that
it's not better.
The Kazekage rescue arc up to Pain is also just as solid. It's a lot of the arcs are better than some of the Naruto arcs. I think it's like really good, you know, and I'd love to talk about that with you sometime, because I mean,
do another video together. It'd be so good. You guys really have a cool you bounce off each other. It's awesome.
But you know, oh well. But no. Again, part 1 of Naruto is great. Like I feel like some people will think that I'm one of those people who like only rates things on a scale of 6 to 10. Like I act like it's an out of 10, but I don't go below 5. But no, I'm not just willy-nilly tossing out like 7s, 8s, 9s, and 9.5s. I really do like the first part of Naruto. I think it is spectacular. It has its problems, but it really appeals to me.
Everything else does, though.
Well, I think I've already explained myself, and so have you, for over an hour, so I don't think there's that much more to say. I guess that's all that I have to say. You know, if you have anything else, feel free, and then I guess we can get to wrapping up.
I guess I'd give it between an 8.5 or a 9. I think it's the first arc I'm ranking lower than you. I guess switch my ranking for the Chunin exams with your ranking for this, and we're pretty much even.
Overall, I think it evens out to Naruto Part 1 being an 8.5, which is a fair rating for it. I think
it's awesome.
Definitely
I love it.
That.
I love it.
It's a great shonen altogether.
Anyway, if you're still watching, well, congratulations, fellow. You know, an hour and 10 minutes.
I've loved it.
Wow, it might not be that long. We might have some of our audio cut to trim the fat, but you know, if you're still here, it's definitely been a long video. So again,
I've loved it. It's not felt like that at all. My God.
provided by Nux
Right.
out of pocket.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, with the amount of ads you'll be able to put in this fucking video because of how long it is, you'll probably be able to afford it.
Yeah, there we go. One ad every 5 seconds. I think that's okay.
Actually, you know what? Then I think it would be... I would deserve a new car if I watched through over an hour with
5-second ads.
What, like 12
Jesus.
ads every
5
minute?
seconds. this video's gonna have a filler arc in middle and everything.
Alright, man. Well, congrats on your new car.
Thank you very much.
Viewers. Anyway, yeah,
Boss.
you guys don't know me.
Yeah, so-
Nux will probably leave a link to my channel.
Swagkage, check him out.
But
He's got some really good Naruto discussion videos.
Don't need to...
If you subscribe to me, you already know who he is.
You absolutely should. He's a great guy. He thinks Madara can beat the Akatsuki.
Because he
And
can.
Because he can. Because people in his comment section don't realize how broken Perfect Susanoo is.
Well, actually, Madara got killed by Zetsu, so...
Well, there's a great debunk for you.
Right. Didn't think about that
Coming.
one.
Yeah, well, to make part 3, Madara versus the Akatsuki.
Madara
The
versus
truth.
Zetsu.
Yeah.
With
Funny.
that said, I think this is a great place to wrap up. Thank you
Yeah.
all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
I loved
Link
it.
to Swag in the
Loved it.
description. He's
Amazing.
awesome.
Thank you.
And
You're too
see you
kind.
next time.
Bye, everybody.
Skage out. Bye.
That was cool. I like it. I hope they do another one together. But that was awesome. Like, my 2 favorite Naruto discussion people in the same video. Like, whoa. That was awesome. I love it. I hope to do another one together. Oh man, that was cool. The discussion was awesome. Naruto Part 1 is just incredible. Like, but regardless, I kept thinking, oh, I'm gonna change my mind. But no, the Zabuza arc is still my favorite. I think I'm quite biased though, because like I think I was watching that on TV, and then I bought the DVD, and then I was waiting for stuff to come out, and I was just constantly watching Part 1 and 2, which is the Zabuza arc, on DVD all the time. Then showing my friends at university that, and I was just like, this anime is incredible, you need to see it. Yeah, I really like that. And those guys are so funny as well, and they seem to get on really well in the video, and I'm quite happy about that. And they gave each other chance to talk as well, which was cool. Like, they weren't like over each other in the conversation, and that was cool. That was class, and they were giving their actual opinions and making jokes about certain videos that have been made, which is cool. I appreciate that. It's cool. So yeah, so that was awesome. Thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys. It's all you guys next time.